You're going to come in contact with an awful lot of people who are at absolute breaking point this season. Friends, family, co-workers, teachers, strangers in the grocery store, retail workers. While it may be the merriest time of the year for some, it's the saddest, loneliest, most stressful, most heartbreaking for so many others. We're all busy, but we're not too busy to be kind, caring, and patient. Remember, the best thing you can give someone right now is love. Welcome to Looking Up. This is a podcast for Christian women, and we get together every week and we talk about things that are interesting to us. That quote was there. I don't know who the author was. I just found it and thought it was appropriate for this week. What we're going to talk about is some of the stress that we feel around the holiday times and what we can do about it, maybe to make things better. We're glad that you've joined us, and Kathy Pollard is your other host. She's on the other end of the line here. Date myself, the telephone line. My name is Carla Moore. I wanted to mention we probably have maybe a few new listeners this week because of a silly soup post that I made last week, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But for some reason, it went a little viral, and it wasn't even really my idea. So if you're here listening for the first time, we're glad you're here. We just are two women who are Christians, and we happen to be ministers' wives, and we get together, talk about things that are interesting, and we like to just imagine that we're sitting around a big table talking to our friends, all of you out there in podcast world. So here we are, Kathy. What's going on there in your neck of the woods?
Well, you can see my Christmas tree behind me.
I do. It's very beautiful.
We went out and cut this down the day after Thanksgiving, and it smells good. It's a Norway spruce, and it's as fat as it is tall. It's like if there's such thing as a potbelly Christmas tree, this is it. I love it. I mean, it's pretty much smushed up against me, and I'm sitting at the dining room table. I have a little recliner that I sit in the evenings over here on the other side of the room. I can almost touch the tree without leaving the recliner. I could just almost reach out and touch it. So
it's beautiful.
Thanks. That's how big it is. We had fun.
You cut it down yourselves?
Well, not me. Not me.
I was going to be impressed.
Well, Gary and Neil cut it down. So we went out to the tree farm and picked it out. I picked it out. They cut it down.
Yeah. After we were talking last week and you mentioned the live tree and how much you liked it and how good it smelled, I suggested it to John. And he thought about it for a minute, and then he thought, I'm going to have to put lights on it. So he didn't want to do it. We have a perfectly good one that's not real. Fakey Freddy, I think you say. And it has the lights that are already strung. So we put that one back up. But yours is gorgeous, and I can almost smell it from here.
Oh, I love that smell. But it is bitterly cold outside. And so this is the unfun, unglamorous time on the little farmette, because Neil told me this morning, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to have to go out there periodically throughout the day and break up the water. And
sure it's that cold.
The sun is out. And it looks nice, but it is cold. And sure enough, I went out a couple hours after he left this morning, and Peach's water had already frozen over. The chicken's water had frozen. So I'm having to go out there and chunk it up and make sure she has she can access fresh water. And so I don't really. That's usually when I'm out there kind of muttering under my breath, like, "What in the world? This is ridiculous."
But you're not having to milk her this year like you did last year because of her. She's pregnant.
We will soon. Yeah, we will soon, because the calf is due around Christmas. So coming in.
I was just thinking that's close. Yeah. Is she looking uncomfortable?
She doesn't really look uncomfortable, but you can definitely tell she's definitely showing.
So. What are the signs that you look for to know that it's getting real close?
I don't know. I read about it one time. There's some kind of bone on their hip. Now I'm going to sound like an idiot. That shifts or changes.
I need to ask you. Is it okay for me to ask you this question?
Yeah, please ask me ahead of time so I can research it. Look like I know what I'm talking about. I don't know. I just stick my head out there every now and then and go, is she still pregnant? Or
Glenda Winery, if you're listening, we need to know, because you will know.
She will definitely know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a pro. We're posers. So
no, you're just a beginner. You're just a beginner.
Yes, we have a friend. But what's new with you?
Well, do you see my brother's picture on the wall behind me?
I do. I see his nose has changed.
Yes, he's either really cold or I don't know what happened to him. Well, I do know what happened to him. I did that to him. I came in here a couple days after Thanksgiving, after he'd been here, and found a picture that he had hung of himself on the wall. So I thought he needed a little bit of Christmas cheer, so I gave him a red nose. But
I have a
I
feeling
also
I would
thought
get along with your brother.
he's a mess. I think, well, he asked me that day, he said, "What room do you record in?" And I thought, oh, he's interested in my podcast.
That is
No, he was
hilarious.
interested in knowing where he could put himself on the wall behind me.
That is
But
hilarious.
we had a good Thanksgiving. We had a family that came. It was a grandmother and her son and her grandson. It was his nephew that came. They're members here at Drippin, and they've traveled with us a couple of times. And so they came over on Thanksgiving with mom, and then the next day, all the family came, and we had lots and lots of kids running around, and
I saw
everybody,
your pictures.
yeah, everybody passed baby Sophie around. But it was a lot of fun and good food. We just did finger foods instead of, I mean, we had a real meal when Rich and Marianne and Jason came over, but the next day when Doug and his family and we had Micah and his family and Jordan and his family were here. So we just had finger food that night. So we did Thanksgiving. What'd y'all do for Thanksgiving?
We had the traditional meal. All the
Did you
family
try
was.
something new since Carl wasn't there?
No,
You didn't take
I,
advantage of that
I
opportunity.
did not. I did not.
Okay.
Well, I will say this. Have you seen that little thing going around about the supposedly addictive candied cranberries?
I've not seen that.
I mean, I feel like somebody that I even know for real in person shared it, that they had made it and loved it. And you rinse off fresh cranberries and you soak them in a little bit of sugar, lemon water for a while, and then you drain them, and then you're supposed to toss them in powdered sugar and then bake them at a low temperature. And supposedly they get that powdered sugar kind of makes them crunchy, like you can just put them in a bowl and snack on them. So I wanted to put that on our dessert table. It did not turn out at all. It was a big soggy mess.
Mm,
And then I thought maybe I didn't put enough powdered sugar on there. So I tried it again. I put more powdered sugar on there and stuck in it. Still didn't work. So I fooled around with it, trying this and that and the other thing, and
mm.
it never turned out. So that was disappointing. But that was the
I'm kind
one
of
thing
crazy
that I
about
tried
cranberries.
new that didn't work.
It didn't fly.
It didn't fly. Yeah. My sister, when she showed up, she brought another glass piece.
Well, Christy,
And I know
it's
this one,
beautiful.
she keeps upping her game because I think
I'll
all the
say.
ones that she's made so far have been flat, and this one's a
Mm-hmm.
3D pumpkin.
Wow, that is
And
gorgeous.
I know, I said, "Oh, I love it." She said, "You don't have to keep sharing these on the podcast." And I was like, "Well, then what else am I going to talk about?" So,
No, I'm glad you do. I'm not glad that's beautiful.
yeah.
Love that.
Thanks. I do too. She is seriously talented. I have no idea. Well, we have our Christmas card that we send out every year. Our middle son Dale always does a little holiday drawing for
Mm-hmm.
us to stick in the card, and his mind amazes me that they look different every single time. They're not like traditional
Mm-hmm.
drawings. And so we got this year's yesterday. So I thought I'd show you. Can you see that?
Oh, that's beautiful. Usually they're kind of like
Yeah.
quirky and fun. That just looks
Yeah. This
gorgeous.
one's, yeah, it's,
Looks like Hogwarts.
yeah. So anyway, we make copies of it on cardstock and tuck them in our Christmas cards. We've
Yeah, I
had
always
people
look forward to
say
that.
that they like if they work in a little office and they have their cubicle, they have all of Dale's drawings through the years
Mm-hmm.
on that they just add it to
Yeah.
their little cubicle. So I always tell Dale when somebody shares that with us. But
Yeah. Those are fun.
yeah, he's talented.
Well, so that soup post that I was talking about earlier, it was from a couple of weeks ago, my something good for you, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just how you bring your own muffin tin to a party and people make soups and you get to try them all.
Mm-hmm.
So when I put that in the group, it was just because I wanted to remind everybody what that something good for you was.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the picture from the original post where I saw it and the name of the woman who had posted it and the name of the group and all. And then it just, I guess it got shared and shared and shared again with people. It just went exponential.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I looked, the post reach, it said was like 3.9 million. And I don't even really know what that means other than maybe it just was scrolled. It scrolled. It was
Mm-hmm.
part of that Facebook scroll. How many times can I say the word scroll? But it was shared like 12,000 times and liked 23,000 times. And then I thought what was interesting is when I like something on a post, some random post, I don't join the group that I see it in. But apparently there were a lot of people that joined the group. And we are pretty careful, I think. You and I are about who we allow in the group. That sounds really snooty, but it's only just to protect the members from being spammed because we don't want that to happen.
Mhm.
So if we don't have mutual friends, we typically don't approve comments. So there's a lot of people that wanted to comment that I don't think were able to because of that. And that's why. So if there's some new listeners, we're glad that you're here. We just try to keep things clean and nice. And so that's why we are cautious about letting people post and comment on things. But anyway, I thought it was kind of fun to keep watching that. And I think it was just interesting to me to see how that's how something goes viral, is that it just gets shared, and that, from that share, it gets shared 3 times. And those three, it's just, you can kind of understand why, how germs can spread, because things go viral like that.
Well, I was just thinking, I do sometimes join groups if I see something that interests me in a post. If
Do
it's
you?
a like recipes using freshly milled flour,
Mm-hmm.
there's a group called Freshly Milled Flour (FMF), and I thought I didn't know there was a group for that. So I checked it
Yeah.
out and I joined it, and now I see all their posts. So
Yeah.
sourdough recipes or homesteading, farming type things. I've
Mm-hmm.
joined groups like that just because of posts that I've seen and liked, and then I went and checked out the
Yeah.
group. So,
Well, we're glad that we have some new people in the group.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I think that the original one was from a group called Soup Lovers.
hmm.
And I just didn't think anything about.
I
I
need to be in
typically,
that group
I guess we do. We need to go
because I
back and,
am one. Yeah,
yeah, I am a soup lover too.
I am definitely a soup. It dawned on me, my poor husband. He'll eat soup, but it's I think in his mind it doesn't really count as a real meal. It's not like meat and
Meat
potatoes
and
kind of a meal.
potatoes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
but I love a good soup. I love a good sandwich. That definitely counts as a real meal for me. But it dawned on me that I fed him 3 soupish style meals in a row.
Like 3 nights in a row, or like in
Not
the
it
one
didn't have to
day.
be 3 nights in a row because I didn't cook 3 days in a row, but it was Saturday. I made this. It was called a creamy mushroom something something soup. I forget what all was in it. And then that was Saturday. And then Monday and Tuesday. Monday I made the lemony lentil soup.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday I made one that had like golden potatoes and broth and lemon juice and arugula and I don't know what else. But it was very herby soup. And
Mm-hmm.
about that time, I'm realizing, ooh,
The man needs
I
some
am
meat.
all, yeah, it's winter and it's cold and I am all
Yeah.
in soup. And I didn't think about it. And then Neil comes home and he goes, oh, another vegetarian meal. Okay.
You need to give him some meat.
I need to give him some meat.
Yeah.
So,
We had, changing the subject a little bit, on Monday night. This is Thursday. So on Monday night, we had the ladies, what we normally do is an ornament exchange. Ladies from church. Do y'all do
mm-hmm,
ornament exchanges or
mm-hmm,
cookie exchange, something like that?
mm-hmm,
And I don't know, I thought it would be fun to do something different. So we did that favorite things, which I had gotten that idea from you. And I think I've asked you about 16 times. How do you do that again? How do you do that? So finally, I printed out the instructions that you gave me. So everybody brought 3 of the same thing, and we did it wrapped. I don't know if you've done it wrapped before. I
mm-hmm.
think you've told me that you did it not necessarily always at Christmas, or maybe it has been. I don't know.
It has been
Okay.
Christmas. Mm-hmm,
So they wrapped them, and I told them to come prepared to explain why they liked it. And
mm-hmm,
so when they got here, they all put their name on 3 pieces of paper, put them in the bowl, and I also had numbers for them. So we drew numbers, and that was the order that we went in. We started off trying to guess what it was. They would give hints, like, well, it's something that you use after your shower, whatever, lotion or a comb. And we ended up not doing that the whole time as far as trying to guess. We just went through. And so they would explain why they liked it. Then they would draw 3 names, and those 3 people got those gifts. And the funny thing was that 3 different people brought the same thing, which meant that there were
oh,
9 of the same thing.
What was it?
It was one of those hamburger choppers, that they
Oh,
had.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
long tool and it
Right.
has like spikes that you chop up your ground meat when
Hmm.
you're browning it.
Hmm.
And it was just so funny because,
How about that?
the first person that described it, said this is life changing. And I've heard people say that. I have had one before and just didn't use it all that much. But now I'm like, I need to try that again.
Hmm.
One woman, Linda Miller, she lives just down the road. She brought a pound of hamburger meat with hers. She put it in the freezer. So the people that got hers, they got a bonus gift with theirs. But we got fun
Hamburger meat's
pictures.
expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a fun picture with all 9 of the women that ended up with the hamburger chopper.
That's
But it
funny.
was a lot of fun. I ended up with 2 of the same thing because at the very end, this is what I did a little bit different. So after we had gone all around and everyone had their 3 gifts, I said, okay, now pick the one of the 3 that you like the most and put it under your seat. And that one is safe. You get to keep that one for sure. But the other 2, we did that dirty Santa kind of
Hmm.
deal. We went backwards, started it with the highest number and went backwards and stole and traded and stuff like that. And so I ended
Hmm.
up with two of the same thing and one other. But it was fun. And first I thought a little bit, I was kind of feeling bad about the expense of it just because that's $30. And I was talking to Erin, my daughter-in-law, and apparently they do that kind of thing a lot in the Houston area. And she was saying, I have a PTO party and I have the ladies, 2 different church parties with the ladies. And she had a bunch of different parties to go to. And every time you spend some money. And so I felt a little bad about that. But then I thought people can regift them. They can use them for stocking
Hmm.
stuffers. They're going
Yeah.
home with the same value that they came with. So I didn't feel
Right.
quite so bad about it
Yeah.
then. But it
Yeah.
was a
And
lot
it's
of fun.
fun. It's fun. Women
Hmm.
enjoy doing that. And the first time I was ever exposed to it was from Michelle Wheat. She
Hmm.
she hosted one and it was so much fun. That was my first time I ever tried dry shampoo because I
Yeah.
came home with dry shampoo that night. And there was one time when I ended up with a Pampered Chef knife,
Hmm.
and they must have done something like that at the end too because I ended up losing that knife
Yeah.
that night. And apparently, I wasn't very gracious about it. You
Hmm.
know how when you think you're hiding how you feel and you're handling things with a smile? Well, apparently I didn't, I guess,
Hmm.
because next thing I know, Michelle sent me a knife.
So the
Which
moral of
is,
the story is if you're bad behaved enough, then you get to take home what you want
yeah,
anyway.
I must have been very childish. And anyway, it was very sweet of her, but at the same time, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she must have thought I felt really bad. Or
You really wanted that knife. Well,
I
it was some
did,
really
I
cool
did.
stuff.
Yeah.
It was sweet. It was neat to see what people came up with. A lot. It was funny too because a lot of the younger women, it seemed like brought like personal care items like dry shampoo or
Hmm.
certain soaps or lotions or whatever. And then the older women, it was a kitchen item or what I got was I had a set of the Prismacolors that I use for Bible writing,
Hmm.
my colors,
Yeah.
because I think they're my favorite coloring pencils.
Hmm.
And there's some kind of brand of soap called Dirty Hippie soap. So somebody brought that with some hairspray and there was some little notebooks. One woman, well, I've talked about her before, Melissa Lovelace. Her husband made some 3D printed some ornaments that lit up from the inside. And I tried to steal one and it got stolen from me, so I didn't get to keep it.
Wow.
Hopefully, I was a
Well,
little more gracious than you were. Or maybe I
wow.
hope that I wasn't very gracious because maybe she'll bring me
Then
one.
you'll get one.
Oh,
Well, it can be done. You were talking about the money. You can do a $5
yeah.
version, and that in itself would be kind of fun just for the treasure hunt aspect of it. Because there's a lot of things. I've about decided that my favorite lip balm or lip blur, I guess they're calling them now,
Blur.
lip blur. Yeah, it's just like a stain that just kind of, it's just like a light stain on your lips that they're calling a lip blur or whatever.
Hmm.
But it's about $5.
Yeah.
And, I've tried more expensive ones that I just wasn't very happy with. And then now
Mhm.
here's this cheap one and I'm really liking it. So it'd be fun that way too, just to
Yeah, you learn new
try
things.
some new things. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
liked it. It was a lot of fun.
mhm. Mhm.
Hey, before we get started, you and I were talking before we hit record about Janelle putting together a list of some things
Yeah.
that she thought were really practical for hospital people who are in the hospital. And I thought it would be great for you to share those if you can.
Yeah, so Janelle is our middle son's wife, and she's a nurse, and she came up with a list of things for people who are in the hospital long term. And here are some of the items. So if you want to put together a care basket or a little gift bag or something, chapsticks, hand sanitizer, unscented hand cream, and lotion. She said facilities usually provide patients with lotion, but they're worse than the dollar store. If they have breathing, make sure it's unscented because scented lotion, if they have breathing issues, scented lotion could affect somebody with breathing issues. Cozy socks with rubber grippers on the soles, a robe, an extra long phone charger, which I thought was a neat idea.
That's a great idea.
A throw blanket. They probably bring one from home, but they get dirty really quick, and it's nice to have an extra. A neck support pillow, a journal, pens, markers, and colored pencils, adult coloring book, especially the ones with Bible verses, a drawing pad, a puzzle or Sudoku book, a trivia book, like a Solve the Mysteries kind, some kind of joke book that would make them laugh, a framed picture of your whole family to keep in the room to know who's thinking of them and praying for them. She said maybe a digital photo frame, a back scratcher, of course, handwritten notes, and then at this time of year, a little mini Christmas tree.
Yeah, very helpful. That neck support pillow is a great idea because if you're sitting up in bed and you're reading, you have to hold your head up, and that's a great idea. I wouldn't mind having one of those. Well, thanks. I thought that was very helpful to think about gifts, giving things to people who are needing help in the hospital. Do you have anything else you want to share?
Well, I was going to share this one extra thing. It's not a big deal, but we have our finger foods and singing tomorrow night. And I found a recipe that I'm going to try. And I'm a little bit nervous because you know me and new recipes sometimes don't always, we're not friends. But I'm going to try this one because it sounds amazing. And if it turns out, then I will share. Because by the time this airs, I will know. It's called Mexican cheese stuffed meatballs.
Yum.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So yeah, the meatball mixture itself has green chilies in it. And then you put a chunk of pepper jack cheese in the middle and wrap the meatball around it. And I mean, I didn't memorize the recipe, but I know it involves baking it with salsa verde and on top of it. And anyway, it sounds really good. So I'm going to try that tomorrow night, and we'll see
serve
if it's
it
worth
like with
sharing.
toothpicks to pick them up or something like that.
Yeah.
It sounds really good.
Yeah.
I made a spicy corn dip on Monday night, and I used, have you ever heard of Cabot cheese?
Yeah, we have visited the store in Vermont and sampled all their cheeses.
So this was one that had a really hot, some kind of pepper in it. And the recipe called for some kind of like pepper jack or something. But I love Cabot cheese, and it had some kind of really hot pepper in it. So it calls for like Mexicorn, which has a little bit of kick to it. And then I put that really hot cheese in it, and we were all kind of coughing.
Your mouth is on fire.
Yeah, it was warm, but I like spicy things. I like it when things burn a little bit.
I don't mind a little heat, but I don't want my lips to burn. I don't want to be on fire.
No, I don't want my lips to burn. I like to be able to taste things after I eat whatever it is.
I do have an embarrassing moment to share.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Spit it out.
Okay. After we went and got our tree, Gary and Chelsea were with us, and we all went to Chick-fil-A. And then we saw some people from church in Chick-fil-A. And I'm not going to even share their names in case they'll be embarrassed. And well, the wives had her parents there visiting, whom we haven't met before. So we thought, we'll go over there and say hi. Well, Neil went over there first. I was talking to Gary and Chelsea. And then when I went over there, I walked up behind Neil.
Oh.
And I put my hands on either side of his hips.
Oh, no.
To slide him over. Put my hands on it outside of his jeans, slid him over so I could see this couple that I'm wanting to meet, the parents. And then he turned around and looked at me, and it wasn't Neil. It was not Neil. It was one of the guys from church. And of course, I was like, what? So sorry. Well, the mother we went over there to meet the parents. The mother is looking at me like she did not appreciate, like, who is this woman hitting on
Was
my
it his
son-in-law?
mother
It
or
was her
son-in-law?
mother.
Okay.
It was his wife's mother. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were my husband. To be fair, literally both of them were wearing blue jeans. They were wearing like a heather gray hoodie pullover. They were both wearing ball caps. So from the back, they looked identical. And I just walked right up to him, and I was a little bit happy about it because I was almost like, well, scoot over and let me see, and I'm grabbing either side of his hips and sliding him over. And then he turned and I was like, oh, and he said, that's okay. I thought you were my daughter because his wife was sitting right there at the table.
Well, where was Neil?
He was standing there also, but in front of him, like
okay,
on the other side in front of him. So anyway, that was mortifying.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll have to remember that because every now and then you say, what's one of your most embarrassing moments? And things just fly out of my head. I can't think of anything. And then I thought, well, I just had one.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. That was a good one.
You're welcome.
You can tell me who it was later.
Yeah.
All right. Are you done embarrassing yourself?
Yes, I am.
Okay. That was probably
let us talk about important things.
A good laugh, but to introduce our more somber topic. We're going to talk today about holiday stress and how to maybe get around it or to avoid it, how to make things better when you're feeling it. And I don't know, just some people, and I'm one of them, end up being pretty stressed out during the holidays. And so I look forward to the holidays, but I also dread them. How do you feel about holidays?
Same. And I feel guilty about dreading it.
Yeah.
Because usually it's the responsibilities and the checklist of things that need to be done, and it's a lot, and there's a lot going on, a lot gets scheduled. It's just a really busy time of year.
I had lunch with Athena Sherfus yesterday, and I was talking to her about it, and I said, "Do you feel it?" And of course, she's like, "No, I love everything about it." She is a sunshine personality, so I wasn't surprised that she felt that way about it. But I know there's some people that love every little bit of it, and just nothing really rocks their boat, and they are happy the whole time. But I think most of us probably do feel some amount of stress, and I am definitely one of those people. But I just wanted to start off in a good way and just ask you, what good memories or what good feelings did you have, like when you walked into your grandparents' house at Christmas time? What was your mental state when you would walk in the house at Christmas?
As a child, oh yeah, it was just wonderful. It was all goodness, and because she made the same treats every year, and I'm all about food, I can still see them and taste them. She put a lot of care, talking about effort. She put she iced sugar cookies every year. She made these candy cane cookies that required two different colored doughs, one that you tinted red and one white, and then twisted them, and shaped it into the candy. Yeah, she made these little round things that to this day I still don't know what they were called. And in the top, she would either press like a whole pecan or some red hots, or there was just a whole tray. We had glass candy every year. There was just a whole tray of things like that only came out at Christmas. And she always had crafty things for us to do.
Like what?
Sister and I, like decorating little pine cones into miniature Christmas trees and making necklaces, and it's just
how fun.
Just a special time.
But it wasn't anything materialistic that you remember about that at all, was it?
No.
It's the way you felt. And the food.
Expensive, and the food, definitely.
Yeah, always the food. Well,
it's a good feeling without food, really.
I mean, that's always tied to it, it seems like. But I mean, God created food and flavor and things for us to enjoy, so I don't feel too bad about that. But it was the same. I mean, we went to both grandparents, but we'd always go to my dad's parents on Christmas Eve. We might have gone a day or two earlier than that, but we were there for Christmas Eve and Christmas night and woke up, the Santa was at my Meemaw and Moompaw's dad's parents. And I can just still feel that feeling of walking in and smelling the smells and seeing the tree. And of course, back then it was the tinsely tree. I think she
Mhm.
may have even had a silver tree in one part of the house. And our stockings, just the traditions and the feeling. She always had Jolly Rancher candy, the little, and I don't think they even make the cherry ones anymore because there's something about those cherry Jolly Ranchers that I associate with my Meemaw. But she had Coke, and Mom didn't always buy Coke, so I always looked forward to Coke at Meemaw's house, things like that. And so I was just thinking that so much of the joyful memories that we had as children didn't have anything to do with the materialistic side of Christmas. And I
My
do,
mind, go ahead.
well, I did enjoy gifts. I mean, I'm not saying
Mhm.
that I was the type of child that, oh, I didn't care anything about the gifts, because I did. But
Mhm.
the best memories that I still retain have a whole lot more to do with other things than the gifts.
When you suggested this topic, my mind went in the exact same direction. And even the Christmases that I remember growing up that were so special had nothing to do with money. Absolutely nothing to do with money. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I remember some presents on some years, like my Holly Hobby Easy Bake Oven, but it just wasn't about that. It was
Yeah.
about the traditions and the things that we did that we knew were going to happen year after year.
Mm-hmm.
That made it
Yeah.
special. Mm-hmm.
And the meals that
Mm-hmm.
were around the table, in fact, I think I've mentioned it on here before, but my Meemaw's dishes, I found a set at Goodwill just like hers a couple of years ago, probably longer ago than that. And we used them at Thanksgiving. But just
Oh,
even that,
oh,
seeing those
yeah.
things just bring back
Oh,
those
wow.
good memories.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it's when I think about the memories that you and I are making for our grandchildren, they're pretty young. Some of mine are a little bit older than yours, but they don't have anything to do really with presents. And I know they do love the presents, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that really what they remember is the feeling that they have when they come in, and the tradition, and knowing the excitement of going to Pa and Yaya's house. And what is Neil called? BB and who?
Pops.
Pops and BB's house. So I try really hard to remember, when I start feeling stressed out, that this is not what I'm going for. I'm not going for or I'm trying not to go for the wow factor. I'm trying to go for the memories that they're going to make. But anyway, so here's another question for you. What do you want for your family to feel when they come into your house at Christmas time? What kind of vibes do you want them to have?
Mm-hmm. I just want them to come in and completely relax. Feel the warmth, feel the welcome, feel the love. This is family time. This is to get intentional togetherness.
Hmm.
That's the vibe I want to give off.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wrote a few things down like what you said. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
come in and kind of take a sigh and and be comfortable and be relaxed. And I know that they are. I can tell that they are. I In most cases anyway. I want them to, when they walk in, I want them to know or feel like, okay, my mom knows me
Mm-hmm.
and she knows what I like. And there's certain things that I know I can make. There's that food again. But like for Jordan, there's a bean dip that he likes. And I know Aaron can make it for him too, better than I can, but I just like to make it for him because I know he likes it. And I think that communicates to him that I care about what he cares about. And Jake loves this homemade granola that I make, so I'll make that for him. Micah would rather make things himself because he's a good cook. But there's things I can make that he likes too. But I just think I want them to know that I know you and I've noticed the things that you like, and I want to make you happy by providing those things that I know you like, because I think that makes people feel special when they know that you've paid attention. You know, I want it to feel like a safe place where they can come and just kind of shake off the world. I have a Yaya bowl. Did I ever tell you about that? Or have I shown
I
you
don't
that?
think so. What's
My
that?
my Aunt Carlene has a Mimi bowl, which I got the idea from her. And it's just filled with all the things that they like. Candy. I mean, it's junk. It's junk food.
Mm-hmm.
Little Debbie Christmas trees, or Oreos, and just little packages of fruit snacks. And it's a great big bowl. And I put it on the island that Micah made for me now. But they always know that Yaya bowl is going to be full of stuff for them, and mostly at Christmas. I try to do it other times of the year when I know they're going to be here, but especially at Christmas. But just tradition. I think when they walk in, I want them to feel that there's things that they can count on, and what they're going to find here at Christmas time is one of is tradition. Do y'all do the pickle game in the
No,
tree? You know what
no.
it is though?
Yeah, yeah. I know the Heights do it. I first heard about it from them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I won't say because this is before Christmas, but we have a pickle, and that's always been a competition with the kids. What about your guests? When your guests walk in, what do you want them to feel?
The same, the exact same,
Hmm.
and it probably won't be as personalized, those
Right.
little touches that you talked about. For us, it would be peanut butter fudge for Carl or eggnog. And you mentioned the Christmas trees. We just picked up a couple of boxes of Debbie Christmas trees because we always have
Hmm.
those out in a bowl.
Yeah.
You just have to.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think I'm changing a little bit in those things. And it used to be so important to me for, things have to be just right. And
Hmm.
I would stress over that. And now for guests, especially, for whatever reason, the number one driving force for me is for them to feel comfortable and to be relaxed in their own skin. I don't want anything to come across as like I'm trying too hard,
Yeah.
and I just want them to feel welcome and relaxed and, a part of the family.
Yeah. I think that was kind of the point that I was trying to make, and you just nailed it, because I think what we want people to feel when they come into our home is that comfort and that cheer and that warmth and that at homeness, if you will, rather than to walk in and have that, wow, this is so beautiful. Of course we want it to look nice. That's
Yeah,
why
that would
you have a
never happen
tree.
here anyway, but
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think when I come into your house, I have some of that, but it's not a matter of you trying to impress. It's a matter of you, this is my home and I want you to feel comfortable here. But I just think that for some of us, we feel pressure to make our house have that wow factor and
Mhm,
make people think, oh, I wish I could do it as well as she does it.
mhm,
And I hate to think that some do, but I really do think some want people to feel, oh, I wish I could decorate as nicely as she does.
mhm,
And I don't want to assume motives. I just think I've read things that people have felt that way before. So I just wanted us to think about really what is it that we want our family and our friends to feel when they enter our home at the holidays. But that does, and I think my point is that really the things that we want them to remember and feel aren't things that are difficult and uh, expensive, or something that brings the stress on, except for
mhm,
maybe making sure that the bathroom's clean. But we put some stress on ourselves around the
mhm.
holidays. Okay, here's another question. What stresses you out about the holiday season?
I don't want anybody to feel left out or overlooked.
Yeah.
And, I just, and there are, in some cases, there are some traditions that require more time that I don't want to drop the ball on because I know it's an important part of things. But sometimes I have filled my plate with so many things that it stresses me out.
Hmm.
And because now I've obligated myself to also do this, and this, and then I'm stressed out. And instead of enjoying the small, nothing's ever a big effort or an expensive effort, they're just efforts. And then
Hmm.
instead of enjoying those small, traditional, seasonal holiday gestures, well, then it's like, oh, when am I going to do this? I still need to start this. And what about this? And I've done that to myself,
Hmm.
with the overcommitting or the expectations or whatever is driving it. I've done that to myself,
Yeah.
and I want them to be able to look back on the holiday and think that was wonderful, that was special, that was great. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because I need to remember what really makes them feel that way. And sometimes when you see everything perfectly curated on social media and matching pajamas and professional photographs and all these things, you kind of feel that pressure of, well, what if we're not doing
Hmm.
that? That's
Exactly.
okay. That's okay because that's not what makes it feel special.
I had copied something and then I took it off, but it was something I was going to read. about you don't need matching family pajamas in an Instagram post to have a good Christmas. You don't need your picture made with Santa in 10 different locations to have a good Christmas. There's all these things that kids don't need. I wish I could find it now because I took it off of my page here. But I thought, like once again, social media tends to ruin things for us because people make something look easy and it probably wasn't at all easy for them.
Yeah.
And we want to make it big and splashy and pretty and fancy. And it ends up adding stress and makes us feel less than because we can't do it the way they do it on social media. And probably most of the time, a lot of these people on social media have people that are making it happen for them. And they make it look so incidental and easy, and it's just not. But I was
Yeah, I
thinking,
wrote down a statement that I read recently, let go of the fallacy that more is better.
mm-hmm,
And when you brought up this topic, I thought that's pretty much what we need to say right there, because
mm-hmm,
that kind of sums it all up, whether you're talking about everything that you scheduled, fun things to try and accomplish throughout the season, or presents under the tree, or, things that you commit to, or
yeah.
whatever it is, let go of the fallacy that more is better.
And I fall into that. I
Well,
honestly
it's
do.
hard not to.
Yeah. When I think especially gifts, because it's just fun. It's fun to get gifts, and it's more fun to give them. It really is. And we take turns, and I watch everybody open them. But I fall into, I want them to have this great big pile of things to open, and so that is something that I've decided I have to let go of in a way and figure out how to do it without disappointing people. But then as I'm preparing for this, I'm thinking, this is not what makes them happy. I know the kids they would love tons and tons and tons of presents, but I also know that that's not good for them. And it was evident to me last year when opening presents, it took so long and people were getting tired because we take turns.
Right, we do
And
too.
so, the little kiddos, they go first, but then it's a long time before it gets back around to them and they've lost patience and they're on to something else and they want to do something else. And I just felt like this is excessive. I felt like that word just kept coming to in my mind, excessive, too much, too long. And I want to do something different. So I'm having to really talk to myself about how more is not necessarily better, but focusing in on them knowing that I really paid attention to things that I think that they'll like rather than just trying to. And I didn't do that anyway. I mean, I didn't just try to throw a pile of presents at them and wow them necessarily. I just like to it's hard to explain. You probably feel the same way.
I do. And I was thinking how it's a good reminder for me when you think, we have to get these great toys for the grandchildren. Of course, mine are still really young right now, but they would rather play with the packaging that it came
Mm-hmm.
in instead of the actual toy itself. So that tells you
Absolutely.
right there, it is not about the money,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they're little. It is not about the money that you spend.
Yeah.
And well, I wasn't sure how you wanted to approach this, but with the presents things, because that can be stressful. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's probably very stressful for any family. And then as your family grows,
Yeah.
and there's more people that you're shopping for, and you want everybody to feel equal love
Mm-hmm.
in the present department. But some things that you can do is just to come up with a plan, like a formula almost for gift giving. Maybe one nice significant gift and then two small ones, or maybe you'll
Mm-hmm.
do for children one toy, one book, one clothing item.
Mm-hmm.
You can come up with some kind of formula that you do, and that becomes part of the memories,
Yeah.
the
The
traditions
tradition.
in your family. We knew every Christmas we were going to get one toy, one book, and one
Mm-hmm.
clothing item or whatever. And kids aren't going to care. I mean, I'm not saying that there aren't teenagers out there who might really want the latest whatever
Right.
and might care if that's not under
Mm-hmm.
the tree, but it'll be character building for them not to get under the tree sometimes. I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it won't kill them if you don't do it.
Well,
So,
and we might be the ones, and I've felt this about myself, we might be the ones that are creating that monster
yes,
when we
exactly.
provide that kind of thing. And then
Exactly.
I was just thinking Jackson is 8 this year, and I don't, he's old enough for me to change the way I'm doing things, and he won't remember so much about before. Not that I went crazy, but I
Mhm.
also think it's his mom and dad's, not just Jackson, all grandkids. That's their child to do special things for. I get to do special things for them too, but I don't want to
Hmm.
do anything that,
Would overshadow what they
yeah,
can do.
exactly. That's
That is a
their
really good
turn.
thought. That's a really good thought. That makes me think about how Neil's parents would always send us money
Mhm.
for Christmas because they knew we would spend it on our kids.
Yeah.
They knew that that's what we were using to buy Christmas presents.
Hmm.
And they could have just as easy, and there were a lot of years that were lean years when our kids were growing up,
Hmm.
they could have just as easily spent that money on great big presents for the kids, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They sent that money to us and let us do it.
Mm.
Hmm. Never really thought about that before.
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, I thought about other things that stress me out. Spending, of course, is one, but not just the money that goes out, but making sure that it's balanced
Mhm.
among. And now
Right.
there's 16 of us, including
Mhm.
myself. And I don't buy for myself. Sometimes I buy something for myself, give it to John, and say, "Here, put this in my stocking." And I think he likes it when I do that because then he knows I'm going to like it.
That's right.
But, just making sure that I keep a spreadsheet, and just to make sure that I spend the same amount on each one.
Mhm.
And it's hard when
That's
there's
what
an
I do.
infant.
Mhm.
Yeah, an infant that might not, he and she, the two little ones, they don't even know. So
Mhm.
what am I going to do about them? I can just be probably best just to give the parents the money that I would spend on them and let them put their college fund or whatever. Wrapping stresses me out, although I love it. I love to have a Christmas movie on, and or baking cookies or whatever and wrapping presents. And I see that the Amazon guy is pulling up right now.
I was about to say my ring might go off because we're expecting packages.
Yeah. Oh, these poor Amazon delivery people. I need to
Yeah.
put some goodies on the porch for them.
Wrapping presents is fun for about 10 minutes. And then no
Yeah.
matter how you're sitting or where you're sitting, it starts hurting after a while when you get
Yeah.
to be our age.
Yeah. And I like to wrap them too. I mean, gift bags are
Mhm.
fun and nice, but I prefer wrapping because
Right.
I like to
So,
unwrap a present.
right. Exactly.
So I tend to wrap, but that
Mhm.
still adds to the stress in some ways. The time that goes into just the sheer time of shopping and
Mhm.
going places to get them, even though you can order things and have them delivered, that's great. But
Mhm.
you've got to
Some you
set
can't.
aside time. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to set aside time to do it. So there's so many things about the holiday season that I thought of. I thought of, this isn't applicable to me, but to parents who have children in school and daycare, and school's out or daycare's not taking their kids, and you still have to work. And I think that's stressful for a lot of parents.
Mhm.
And I feel for them in that area. Decision making, just making decisions about what to buy for people.
Mhm.
And as I'm talking, I'm feeling like, I'm just stressing myself out thinking about, because I haven't done much yet. And here it's, early December. But then I came across the Charlie Brown quote that says, "It's not what's under the Christmas tree that matters, but who's around it."
Mhm.
And I think that's just so true. And one of the things that John does on Christmas morning that he's really only in the last 5 or 6 years started doing this. We'll pass out presents, and then we sit, and then he says, "Okay, we're going to stop for a moment. We're going to thank God. We're going to talk about why we're blessed." He just kind of makes everybody
Mhm.
stop and pause and pray and thank God for the blessing of family and the blessing of being together. And it's when there's 16 of us here in the house, it's pretty crowded. And
Mhm.
it's fun, but we also have to kind of give each other some space. So I'm glad that John helps us to focus on what's important.
How
Anything
about
else?
decorations?
Oh, yeah.
Decorations. Last year I did something different because it's a lot of work to pull all those things out and put them up. And then when it's all over, you have to pack them all back up. And And some people really love that. So again, if that's you, this episode isn't for you anyway. some
Move right
people
along.
some people wait for that all year long and thrive on that. I don't. It stresses me out. And last year I didn't get it all out. And it wasn't because I was feeling scroogey. I just wanted to simplify. And we had our fresh cut tree. We got out the ornaments to put on the tree. We pulled out some of our Christmas mugs. We pulled out of course, the tree skirt. We pulled out a Christmas table runner. And then we have this one, it's like a plug-in globe that's a big moon that has Santa in front of it it's almost like an oversized nightlight kind of thing that we've had since we were first married, that we have to pull out every year just because the kids expect to see it lit up on Christmas. So, and that was it. I didn't pull out anything else. And I just paid attention, and not a single person said, wow, you didn't really do very much decorating, and that's because when they got here, it still smelled like Christmas. All the Christmas goodies were everywhere. You can light candles. I have fresh evergreen just cut in a copper pitcher on my table. I didn't put Christmas decorations out. I just have natural things. And it just, the stress level for that just was like, phew. If I know that all I'm doing is putting up a beautiful tree and pulling out some Christmas mugs and letting the rest go and nobody missed it, Neil still puts up lights outside, but that was huge for me.
Yeah. I have kind of simplified off and on over the last few years, just not, I'll pull the tubs down, or John will pull them down for me, and I'll look through them. And I've gotten to where I just put half of it back, and I've given some to Goodwill, just gotten rid of some and put less up, just depending on how I'm feeling. And while you're talking, I'm thinking there are some people that it feeds their soul. They love it. They can't wait for it.
Yeah,
and
I
more
think my
power to
sister
you.
is probably one of those people. She's so good at it, and it's always beautiful, and she probably enjoys doing that.
Yeah. And I'm
She
thinking
also
of a few
likes to
people too.
paint, though, so she's weird.
We're thankful for those weirdos in our life.
We
Yeah.
sure
They can come
are.
to our house to decorate for us.
We enjoy visiting their homes.
Yeah. Well, having that party on Monday night, if I hadn't had that, I probably would still be, I need to decorate. And then as we're pulling down things, I said to John, aren't you glad I only really decorated Christmas? Because thinking about, there's some people that like to do all the different holidays, decorate, for every Valentine's Day, Easter, whatever.
Yeah.
But I just do Christmas time. And like I said, if that feeds your soul, I'm glad. I think that's great. But for those of us who feel overwhelmed by it, I think that's fantastic advice. Just to simplify, just pull a few things out and enjoy. I think it kind of makes you really enjoy the ones that you do.
Well, and all of these things really speak to how different we each are. We can talk about all these things and they won't all apply to everybody. I love the phrase that you're using, if that feeds your soul, because everybody's different. What might stress me out, somebody else might just, they love it and they look forward to it, but everybody's different. And we're talking about spending money. You might be in a situation where that's not an issue. That's not a stressful thing for you, so I think what you're getting at is determine the source of the stress. If you're feeling, if it's not just a joyful season for you and you're feeling the burden of stress kind of keeping you up or weighing you down a little bit, determine where that's coming from and see what the source of it is. Is it unrealistic expectations? Is it trying to keep up with the Joneses? Is it overcommitting, and then see what you can do to maybe ease some of that stress for yourself, because it's probably going to look a little bit different for all of us.
Right. Perfectly said. Exactly. I wanted to just bring up a few things that I thought areas that holidays can be hard for people. And one of them, holidays can bring grief to a lot of people, especially if they've lost someone, if they've lost a loved one in the past year. Think about those people who it's happened during the holidays. They've lost someone that they love during the holidays. And so every year after that, that's what they think about, is the one that they love. This is what that reminds them of. But I just can't imagine, what it would be like to think about holidays with when you don't have the person that you've shared that with. And I know there's so many people that are going through that. And that would be, think about my mom, and she laughs and says, that dad didn't really, he would pull the tree down, but she's the one, she would have to put the lights on and do all those things. But just thinking about those who are going through grief. What about
Mhm.
people who are grieving the fact that they don't have the physical capability of decorating anymore? They can't do it, or they don't have the place to do it anymore. Again, just thinking about mom, how
Mhm.
I've got some of her decorations. I'm actually going to take a tree over there in the morning to put in her room. But even that, thinking about my mother-in-law and how important the holidays were to her, and she was the matriarch of the family,
Mhm.
and it was so important to her that we were all there at the same time. And I like that too, having all the family around the table or in the house at the same time. But then when your family grows and they kind of start scattering and people do different things, and you have your family over here, and it's like a loss of status, maybe, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so grief, thinking about the way things used to be, that's got to be hard. People
Mhm.
who are estranged from others and don't have them to share the holidays with. And families who are going through or have been through divorce. I just feel for those kiddos that are, do you split time with between families? How do you handle that? And so I just think for a lot of people, this time of year is a grieving time. And it's even worse, I imagine, because everywhere it looks like you're supposed to be having the best time of your life. It's the best
Mhm.
time of the year. We have songs about it, the music, and you've got memories of good times, but you don't have
Mhm.
those anymore. So I
And I
think we
think
have
the
to.
music makes it harder because we associate feelings with songs. And when something sad or tragic happens at the holidays, then every time you hear those songs, you revisit those feelings. Like it
Yeah.
just pulls them up with you walking in the grocery store or Kohl's or wherever, and a song comes on, and all of a sudden you just
Hmm.
instantly feel that loss again because that experience or memory is tied to Christmas music and
Yeah.
those songs, and you just can't help it feel, you might go, why am I feeling this way? And then you realize Silver Bells is on or something,
Yeah. 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 So I wanted to bring that up just to be mindful of people who are grieving in different ways, and just being conscious of
Mhm.
people who are alone or people who are going through something new. There's just a new something in their life that's making the holidays different. What can we do to make their life
Mhm.
better? I think not only can holidays bring grief, but they can be such a distraction. And I feel this because there's there's still life going on, still
Mhm.
bills that you have to pay, but especially our spiritual life. Are we still paying attention to the things that we need to pay attention to? Are we still worshiping when we need to, and not setting those things aside because we are so
Mhm.
busy with everything else? So
Right.
be careful not to let it be a distraction. I think holidays can be a competition.
Yeah.
We've already kind of talked about that a little bit, but we want ours to be the best gift given. And they look back and go, wow, that was the best gift ever, or the best house decor, or you're the best hostess, but I want to be the best hostess. So
Mhm.
we just feel that sense of competition, especially people who are competitive. I think holidays can bring out the worst in people. And I know that this is true of me. I can just turn into a crab because I'm feeling the pressure of making this decisions for all of the gifts that we're giving to
Mhm.
the kids, or I don't have enough time to do all the things that I need to do, or I have to cook, or I have, whatever. So it can bring out the worst in us. What about holidays with family that don't get along? And, I look at, you see all these, especially modern movies, Christmas movies, and they
Mhm.
make a lot out of, you hear people say, we have to, they're dreading Christmas because they have to go be with their family.
Mhm.
And it seems like more than ever before, a lot of the movies are bent that way.
Mhm.
And when you throw in politics or football, college football, or whatever, it's just it can be a real challenge when you don't get along with everybody in your family.
Mhm.
And I wrote down under this, if you want to give a gift to your parents or your grandparents, make it a peaceful holiday with your family. Do whatever you can. And that's just biblical anyway. As much as lieth in you, be at peace with all men. Doesn't mean that's the old good old King James
Yeah.
version, the one that we memorized. But that's what moms want. They want their children to get along. And you and I, thankfully, they have their bickering and their tiffs, but I know that there are some moms out there that just would give anything to have their children get along and love one another. So give that gift to your parents. Holidays stress our finances. And I remember personally thinking about a few years ago when the boys were in college in particular. Real estate taxes were always due on December 31st. And then tuition, and the boys did a lot of paying for their own school, but we still paid for some too. And those double whammy on top of Christmas, I think that contributed to my high blood pressure was trying to figure out how to do, because we didn't have it set up with our mortgage that it would automatically take taxes. We didn't pay each month toward that. And so we would always have to come up, make sure that we had the money for the taxes at the end of the year, pay for Christmas, and set aside some for tuition. So I think, that I feel this one, the stress on the finances, and I know you do too. But I think we need to ask ourselves, as far as giving gifts, is this gift what I want to do, or is it really what they want from me? Ask yourself, would my family really want me to go into debt for this Christmas gift? Or would they really want me to feel this amount of stress to give me a gift? And I just really don't think that any family that has any character at all would want you to feel that way. So those were just some of the things that I thought about as far as all of the negative stressors about Christmas. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, now I'm depressed.
No, I don't want you to be
Well,
depressed.
I will say one of the pressures that I put upon myself when everybody's together for the holidays is I want to make sure I'm spending equal time with everybody. And I know that's only me even paying attention to that because they don't care. It's not like they're going to leave here and go, "Oh, I really wish my mom would have spent more time with me," but
Or mom spent more time with them than
I
with me.
exactly. I kind of feel myself going through the day as they've left, and I thought, well, did I ever get to spend any one-on-one time with this son or this grandchild or this
Mm-hmm.
daughter-in-law or and I wrestle with that sometimes. I feel like I want to make sure everybody's happy and comfortable, and then at the same time making sure I'm not holding one grandchild more than the other or
Mm-hmm.
seeming more helpful with this one than, all that kind of stuff. That's what's running through my mind
Yeah.
when everybody's here. I want everybody to feel the equal love.
Yeah. That's so you. I can see
Uh,
that being something that you worry about. I hadn't really even thought about that. I guess I'm just not thoughtful that way. And you're more
okay.
thoughtful about things like that. But yeah, now I'm depressed.
Uh, you're welcome.
We've managed to depress each other. Oh.
Well, you know what helps all the discouragement is the commercialism. And I know this isn't a new topic, it's always been there, just in different forms. It just
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's even more there because we've mentioned this before, but all the suggestions. Here's something that you would love. Here's something you need. Here's something you have to have. And
Mm-hmm.
when you throw that into the holidays and the expectations that come along with it, it's really hard to not get caught up in that
Yeah.
and think, oh, you're right. We should get that. We should do this. We should. And to have the clarity to step back and say, no, no, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really need to be buying this right now. I don't really need this in my wardrobe right now. I don't really have to have this right now. And instead keep that focus on turning this around. If I want all my family members to feel comfort and love and welcome and peace and all those things that we just talked about in the home, you know, none of that is going to be brought about by any kind of
Mm-hmm.
purchase. It's just
Right.
not, or
Right.
anything involved in commercialism. It's involved more about the intentional togetherness and the gift of time, the gift of I'm with you. I see you. I love you. Just remembering that and some of the things that you mentioned help them feel seen and known by those little special things that they love and look forward to. That has nothing to do with
Mhm.
commercialism. Nothing.
Right.
And in some ways, if we think about it, you said, are we the ones, or something along the lines of, are we the ones creating the problem by the pile of
Mhm.
presents? Um, we can maybe discourage our own family members with the whole, well, I can't reciprocate in this way.
Mhm.
I can't spend the same amount of money, and I can't live up to those expectations. And now that you've done all this, I feel like I have to turn around and do all that for you. And
Mhm.
we don't feel that way, with our
Right.
kids. I actually don't
We
want
don't
any of
want
them to
them.
spend
Mhm.
any money. I just want them to show
Mhm.
up and have a great day.
Yeah.
But do we make people feel that way unintentionally by over the top spending and,
Mhm.
it has to be this way, and you have to think it's wonderful, and I want this to be your best Christmas ever.
Yeah. And when we have the best intentions when we do that, but I
Mhm,
think that you're exactly right that we often end up giving the complete opposite. It has the complete opposite effect. And
mhm,
I'm sitting here thinking we don't want to pile on the discouragement and talk about all the ways that the holidays are hard, but just want to acknowledge that they are, because I think a lot of people do feel them. I know I feel them. I do look forward to them, but there are things that as it approaches, even on the 25th every month, I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's 7 months till Christmas. It's 4 months
yeah.
till Christmas. I need to get started. I need to do these things. But I think we just want to maybe tip our hat and say, let's make some changes if we need to make some changes.
Mhm,
And if you're at the beginning of your parenting, think about some things before you start traditions or start
mhm,
commercialized expectations for things. Try to be more mindful and intentional about what you want your children to remember about your holidays. And I think that's really kind of where we're going with this. And I'll maybe spend the rest of our time talking about how we can make some things better for the holidays and for the stress that we're feeling. So the first thing that I thought of and wrote down, is this going to bring joy to someone? So what brings you joy? What brings you joy?
mhm. Togetherness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, if you know your why, you find your joy in all of this. What's the objective really with everything that you're doing, whatever's
Mm,
stressing you out? What's the objective? What's the goal? What's the end goal? And
yeah.
what should it be? Based,
Yeah.
what's it turned into, but what should it be? And then if you know your why, and we all pretty much probably have the same why. If you know your why, you'll find your joy.
I'm writing that down. If you know your why, you
You'll
you
find
find
your
your
joy. I
joy.
don't think anybody's ever quoted me before.
Well, it's about to happen. That's the truth.
Yeah.
If you know your why, you'll find your joy. And and maybe again to reiterate a point earlier, before it's easier to start rather than to, once the train is moving, the train of materialism, it's hard to stop it. So at the beginning of your parenting years, think about that.
Mhm.
What's going to bring your children joy? Don't start something that's going to be harder to turn around and stop later. I think that's pretty profound. Yeah. What is your why? What brings you joy? And to me, it's your Barney look. That brings me joy. It does bring me joy when you make the Barney face. Not the purple Barney, but the Barney Five face.
Thanks for clarifying.
Just in case anybody wondered. But I think one of the things that brings me joy when it comes to something from John or from my kids, and you did this last year, is to know I thought of you. I thought of you, and I know you. You sent me that book that had all of those things that had little jokes between the two of us, and I just felt seen and known, and that made
Mhm.
me feel so special, and it brought me a lot of joy because it was something special and personal. So what can we do as we're going through each of these days of the holidays is this going to bring joy to the person that I'm doing it for? Is it really going to bring them joy, or is it just something that is going to pile on the stress?
Mm-hmm.
And I like you use the word curated, when we've got all these things that we want to do to make them match or to look right. I mean, it looks cool. It looks cool, but it's not something that's going to, when someone sees it, it's not going to make them joyful, not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like a gift wise, some homemade salsa.
Yeah.
And you can make a great big batch of homemade salsa and put it in mason jars and hand those out. And
And a
as
bag of
long as it,
chips.
yeah, a bag of chips. I mean, what a great gift.
Mm-hmm.
I think of people that just they make cakes and bring people cakes. And not only is
Mm-hmm.
that something that's thoughtful, but it's helpful because they're going to have family over and they're going to need
Mm-hmm.
food to feed them. So things like that, that brings joy. And there it's food, right? So there
Mm-hmm.
we go with food.
Always.
It's always going to bring joy. So think to yourself, is this going to bring joy to someone, the person that I'm trying
Excuse
to
me.
make happy? And then this is a huge one for you and me both, I think, is to ask for help.
Ew. Ew.
When I think of asking John for help when it comes to buying gifts for the boys, I might ask him to help, but then I take it back. Like, never mind. You're not going to do it the way I want it done.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I do that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and that is so dumb of me. And I really need to be better about that. To say, all right, I'm going to turn you loose with this. You decide. Not only does that we're sharing the burden. That shouldn't even be a burden. I don't mean that. It's fun to
Mm-hmm.
buy. I think everybody knows what I mean. We just got to let go of that perfectionist side of us that wants to do it just the way we want to do it and ask our husbands for
Delegate.
help. Yeah,
Delegate.
delegate
Yep.
when it meal time when the family's here. Get everybody in the kitchen. And some of my fondest memories of the last few Christmases, we were all in the kitchen making fettuccine alfredo, and everybody had a job, and it was chaos, and we're all
Mm-hmm.
bumping into each other, and excuse me, sorry, but it was a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it was really good too.
Those are my favorite,
Hmm.
favorite kinds of memories. In the
And
kitchen making something together. Mm-hmm.
yeah, but I tend to not do that. I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm wanting them to relax, and
Yeah. Have it all done ahead of time.
yeah.
Yep, that's me.
So heads up, if my daughters-in-law happen to be listening, I think we're going to be doing it all together this Christmas because it's fun. And I think they
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it too.
Mm-hmm.
So ask for help. There's another one that I thought of, that you don't owe explanations to people when you decide to spend less. I think we feel the need to say, I'm sorry, but I'm having to scale back this year. Just you don't owe someone an explanation about that. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to explain yourself. Or maybe why you can't send Christmas cards this year, or you can't go to every party. And I'm not saying be rude about it, but I think if it helps you to take a couple of things off your plate by saying, I can't make this party. I can't, just can't. Sorry, I can't make it this year. You don't have to say why. You don't have to say because you just totally stressed me out by giving me my seventh invitation to the whatever thing that I have to spend another $30 and bring another impressive handmade dish.
Mm-hmm.
Just I can't do it. I'm sorry, can't be there. I hope y'all have lots of fun.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
you don't owe explanations. And I think another one is even homemade can add stress. Right after I just said make some homemade salsa. But I think when we try to do something handmade, we want it to be really, really good. I can see this might be something that you might stress about because you think you're not good at certain things and you are. But I think if it's if we're trying to do something handmade for someone, even if we botch it,
Yeah.
give it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. And that's my pride that gets in the way because, people make things and do things, and I'm just so wowed and impressed. And I want them to be equally wowed and impressed with me.
Hmm.
So that's just my pride. And I really just need to do the things that I'm comfortable with and don't stress me out, and that, we can do to bring joy. And if they're not wowed with it, that's okay. That's not the
Yeah.
point. The point is to let them know I love them and I'm thinking about
Yeah.
them. And I was kind of thinking along the lines of some of the things that you just said, is that scaling back is just key. I mentioned it with the decorations, but
Mm-hmm.
even you mentioned Christmas cards. Maybe you don't have to send Christmas cards to every single acquaintance that you have. Maybe you can do the handwritten Christmas cards to close friends and family. And maybe you definitely want to do something thoughtful for, the shut-ins or whatever, but you can't do all of them. But each year, maybe you can do 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And to just to do some small gesture, some little handmade thoughtful thing that you can deliver to them with some love, so that you can enjoy the process. And
Mm-hmm.
how they say that you can be, what's that saying about when you're trying to do so many things that you're not good at any of it. You
Yeah,
don't do
jack of
any
all
of it.
trades, master of none.
Yeah, you don't do any of it well just
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to do too much. And I think that is such a huge part of this overwhelmed, stressed part of the holidays. But we are talking about the curated social media. Well, we get to be the curator of our own holiday
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like by the choices that we make. And, so that means we get to decide what that looks like as far as how much of an effort, not effort so much as the quantity
Mm-hmm.
of, instead of trying to do this, pick the 5 most meaningful things to
Mm-hmm.
you and your family this holiday season and focus on that. And
Yeah.
make sure something in there includes thinking of others, obviously. But, I guarantee you, and I'm speaking to myself, I guarantee you at the end of the seasons, nobody's going to go, hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
The only thing that will be missing is your level of stress.
Yeah. Well, and you were talking about, just going back to pride and the things that we might make and we feel like we didn't do it very well and we give them anyway. Well, if it makes us all laugh, that's a gift, isn't it?
You're welcome.
You try to make something and it's funny
It
and you give
flops.
it to
Yeah.
them and you say, I really tried to make this and it made me laugh. And so I'm giving it to you and with permission to
Mm-hmm.
laugh because it's kind of silly, but I thought of you. Who
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want that? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
love to laugh. I think that's helping someone else laugh, especially in the middle of a stressful holiday season. What a gift.
Yeah.
So maybe we should
I
just make a
want
bunch of laughing things.
to, I'm good at that. I want to use my sister as an example of something. And I debated whether to bring this up because I don't want her to take it the wrong way. So, Christy Lee, please do not take this the wrong way. But I've mentioned before on here how she is the master of knowing what to do to make people smile. Like
Hmm.
she just knows how to pull it off. And if you go into her home for whatever reason, I mean, a dinner, a Bible study, a party, whatever, you're going to leave feeling so special because she knows how to pull that off. And she's very creative, she's very talented, all those things. And I always leave feeling like she loves me. She really loves me. But, so this year I invited her over here for her birthday, and I felt that pressure of, I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I'm just not going to be able to pull it off. I was a little bit stressed by it, and I felt like I'm trying to make a dessert and I'm trying to hang a little decoration and I'm trying to think of something fun that we can do. And I'm feeling a little bit less than in the whole process just because that is not a strength of mine. It just isn't. But I'm sure, she doesn't feel that way. And when it was all said and done, she sent me the longest message about how she just enjoyed it so much and felt special. And
Mm.
thank you for the wonderful, memorable evening. And the whole time I'm going, oh, you know,
Hmm.
just comparing myself to her skill set and her talents. But all she saw was that I wanted to have her over. I loved her. I wanted to spend time with her on her birthday. And so again, I think it goes back to that whole what's the why? We're the ones putting all that extra pressure on ourselves. She certainly didn't.
Hmm.
And she wouldn't even want me to feel that way. that was all me.
Yeah.
And I could have avoided all that stress if I had realized that in the first place. And I think we do the same thing when it comes to the holidays.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, we just want to make people feel special, but sometimes we think we have to make them feel special according to a certain pattern that
Mm-hmm.
we've seen maybe them do or seen other people do, but yet
Mm-hmm.
they don't even realize that that is a pattern. I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes sense, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very well said.
Thanks.
Well, one more that I had suggestion that I had is to make lists and prioritize, especially if you're a list maker. Sometimes making lists brings you joy, especially if you can add a few things on there that you've already done so that you can mark them out before you
Exactly.
even start your day. But I was thinking about this. Okay. I'm not a huge list maker, but I do when I have a lot to do, I make lists. So, what about three different columns? You make your list, but then there's three different columns. One says, these things I must do. These are things I would really like to do. And these are things I will do if I have time. And then sort them out. And then I think that would help me to figure out instead of running around like a chicken with my head cut off, I would figure
Mm-hmm.
out I've got to get these things done first before
Mm-hmm.
I start on those things. And those things, if I have time, maybe they don't happen. And that's okay. And if I see them on the list as if I have time, then I think it's less of a disappointment to myself if I realize that
Hmm.
it really, it wasn't that important. It's just
That's a great
something.
idea.
So lists, cross out
That's
the
a great
unnecessary,
idea. Yeah.
make sure you put them in order of importance. And I think that
And
would
that
help.
helps you clarify your priorities.
Hmm.
These take first priority. This is where my efforts are going to go. I'll just focus on this list right here. And then when
Yeah,
all that's done, look at some of those other things. And no matter how far you get in that second and third column, you can feel good knowing that that first column's taken care of.
right. Yeah,
That's
I think
good.
that will help me if I will make myself do it.
Hmm.
Making lists. Okay,
It's
do you
like
have
that
any?
song, right? List maker, make me a list.
I don't know that song. I know a matchmaker song. Now I'm going to be singing that the rest of the day.
You're welcome.
Okay, before we finish up, I just thought I was looking through, we like to make sure that everything we do is in something that will honor God and bring scripture into things. And I was reading through, thinking about how we need to be thankful in all that we do. So I was looking at the passage, First Thessalonians 5:18, that says that we should give thanks in everything. So I
Mm-hmm.
started looking back in the context and I thought, this is the perfect recipe for Christmas, for the holidays, is First Thessalonians 5. Because maybe taking it a little bit out of context here, but I don't think so. Because in verse 13, it says to live in peace, and we want to live in peace in the holidays. In verse 14, we want to encourage the faint hearted. And there are a lot who are faint hearted at the holiday time. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
those who are struggling. Verse 14 also says to help the weak and to be patient. It also says something in there about admonishing the unruly. And sometimes we have a few unruly people, little people in our homes, but we'll leave that alone. Verse 15 talks about how we should seek after what is good for others. So we're trying to help others and seek their good. Verse 16 talks about rejoicing always. So there needs to be joy in what we do always. And verse 17 is being prayerful always.
Mm-hmm.
And then again in verse 18, and everything give thanks. So I just thought those things, if we can
Hmm.
remember, just remember those, what, 5 verses? I might even post them up on my mirror in my bathroom to remember. Peace, encourage the faint hearted, help the weak, be patient, seek the good of others, rejoice always, pray always, and in everything give thanks. I thought those were good things to remember
Yeah.
for the holiday
Carla, I'm
season.
thinking that can be the template for your list
Yeah.
because some of those things can be done. I mean, be patient, maybe not, but some of those things can be lived out in very specific ways.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage the faint hearted. And you could come up with one way that you could do that or an example of how you could do that. The unruly part is probably self.
Yeah, definitely. My unruly
Attitude
spirit.
or complaining or grumbling, whatever. Admonish the
Mm-hmm.
unruly. That would be.
Self admonishment. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we've probably yammered on a little bit too
I think
long,
we
but
have.
yeah. And I can tell that it's getting a little bit dark there. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
time for us to wind down. Do you have something good today for
Oh, I
me?
do. I do. And so this is a gift idea. I thought not my idea. I saw this somewhere
Hmm.
else, but I loved it. You take a soft lap blanket, like kind that you can roll up, and you tuck into it some packages of popcorn, some hot cocoa packets. You tie it all up with a ribbon and some jingle bells, tuck in some candy canes, and then you put a pretty note on it that says, "The snuggle is real." Isn't that
That is, you could put some cheese in there and say that's this really cheesy.
cute? The snuggle is real. Wishing you a warm and cozy holiday season.
I love
That'd be
it.
a
Because
fun little
who
gift
wouldn't,
for a
yeah,
shut in or anybody,
who
really.
wouldn't want that nice soft blanket?
Yeah.
Sounds good right about now.
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay. Well, I have two something goods for you. Something's
Oh,
good for you.
overachiever.
Two things that are good. Because, and I debated about keeping one of them, but I think both of them right now, this time of year, these
Mhm.
would both be helpful for the rest of the holidays.
Okay.
The first one was something I did not find out about until Monday night. And my friend Bonnie Walker told me about it. And it's awesome. I love it. If you go on YouTube and you search gold frame TV art,
Hmm.
have you ever seen these?
Yeah, we do that. I'm sorry. I mean, what? No. Please tell me.
Tell us more.
Tell me more.
I have never seen it before. And I had even told John, we just moved our TV from the bookshelf that it was on to the over the fireplace for several different reasons that I shall not go into. But I really wanted, and I talked to John about, I wish we had like a frame around it to make it look like a piece of art instead of just the TV over the fireplace. So in the middle of the party the other night, we were about to pray for our food, and I was going to turn the music off. I had Pandora, yes, I still listen to Pandora on, playing music on the TV. And Bonnie said, "Are you going to put the frames on?" And I was like, "What are the frames? I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "Go search for this." And so if you look for gold frame TV art right now, especially they have all these Christmas, it looks like
Mhm.
a gold frame around your TV. I mean, it's like a frame with a beautiful Christmas scene. And you can choose from tons of them. There's all kinds of them. Some of them have music, some of them don't. Some of them have like the snow falling. So there's like movement on the screen, but a lot of them are just like a picture of
Still
Santa
shots.
Claus or a picture of a quaint little village that has snowfall and the Christmas lights. And I can't stop looking at it. We have one on all the time, and it's just so pretty. And it's not the TV. It doesn't look like TV. It looks like a framed art over your wherever you have your TV.
Yeah,
So
because it fills out the whole screen. So there's
yeah,
no black screen showing at all. The fall
right.
ones were really pretty.
Okay, I can't wait to see what's, after Christmas, but I'll post that next week and show a picture of what it looks like. The other something good for you is called it's a website. And this one my son Jake told me about. It is called justtherecipe.com. So you know how when you go to Half Baked Harvest or Pioneer Woman or um, Farmhouse on Boone, or one of those websites that you look at that have recipes,
Hmm.
and you go to this recipe, you're looking at it and you have to go scroll, 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 scroll. I mean, I know you can jump to recipe, whatever. But if you click on the URL in the address bar and copy where the recipe is, then you go to justtherecipe.com and you put that URL into the little search bar. It's very, very easy to do. Then it will immediately give you just a clean copy of the recipe, none of the junk around it. You don't have to
That is
scroll, scroll,
awesome.
scroll. You don't have to weed through all the advertisements.
Hmm.
You
Wait
get
for
just
everything
the
to
recipe.
load.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can print it or you could just use it on on your screen.
Nice.
So I'm super excited about that
Yeah,
because
that's fantastic.
yeah. And I think even when you were doing your blog and you had recipes, I remember saying to you, would you please make sure you have a jump to the recipe?
Hmm.
because I mean, I wanted to read all of your stuff. I would read all of your stuff, of course, duh. But I don't want to read all of Half Baked Harvest's memories about why this recipe is special and how often she makes it. I just want the recipe. So justtherecipe.com. Choose something good for you.
Very good. Good
Yeah.
job.
Okay. Well, I really did need this conversation, and
Me too.
I feel much better now than I did halfway through the conversation when we depressed ourselves. So it was very helpful for me. I feel like a weight has been lifted. Have a plan. There's some things I'm going to do different this year, and it's going to be good. Looking forward to it now. So thanks especially for your quote that I'm going to be using from now on about where I wrote it down. What was it again? If you know your why, you'll find your joy.
You'll find your joy. And I bet a lot of our friends listening have great ideas and things that have worked for them or thoughts to share with all of us at this time of year.
Well,
Those
I
that
would
are
love to hear
struggling,
them.
I would too.
Yeah. So next week in the group, we'll make sure we ask for suggestions. All right. Well, good discussion. And
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Until next time.
Keep looking up.
All right. I love you. And I'll see you soon.